The opinions expressed by the host and guest on this program are solely their own and do not represent the views or opinions of Blind United. We strive to provide diverse perspectives and discussions on our platform, but the opinions expressed should be understood as personal viewpoints and not reflective of Blind United as an organization.
It's time. It's time for
coffee time.
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 And here is your coffee time crew.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. It's Monday. I'm a little late, so sue me. Anyway, this morning I got Carol with me. Pedro is missing. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Again, we all volunteers here, so my brother had a little business he needed to take care of this morning, so he's taking care of his business, and hopefully George will pop in here just to keep you guys laughing throughout the rest of this hour, but just in case, me and Carol will pick up the slack.
Definitely.
So, as far as interest groups, tonight we have a double header for you. We have advocacy. Actually, both of these are supposed to be hosted by George Zavala. I'm going to cover for him on the first one. He's got a little something to do later on this afternoon, so I'm going to cover for him on the first one, talk about some advocacy, and then George will be in probably before it's over with, and then he'll float right into Jaws tips and tricks. So I know he's telling me yesterday he's got a couple little special things he's going to do and show you guys this evening in his tips and tricks group. So, and all I'm going to do is talk to you guys about, being your own best self-advocate. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, I mean, if you know somebody that doesn't necessarily, have the skills or and I don't really call it a skill, but I guess you want to call it conversational skills to advocate for yourself, or for themselves, maybe you can step in and help them out. But at the same time, you want to teach them how to do that, because, I mean, it ain't just, because we're disabled or, blind or whatever the case may be. I mean, you have to learn to be an advocate for yourself throughout life. I mean, it ain't just dealing with, disability issues. Sometimes it's just dealing with civil rights issues. It's, sometimes it's dealing with constitutional issues, whatever. You got to learn to be an advocate for yourself. So anyways, come out, check us out tonight, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And we'll get into that during that period later on this evening. So anyway, let me go here. I got 3 kind of interesting articles. They all tie together. And the first one here is, today is basically about education, okay? And what I wanted to highlight is the disparities in educational funding and so on and so forth. So I'm navigating as we're talking, folks. I'm sorry. It's hard to listen to Jaws and talk to you at the same time, but I'm trying to work it out. But anyway, you always hear a lot about this one. We always hear a lot about this first part of this. And so let me go ahead and play this, and then we'll talk about it on the other side and see what happens.
Today on Coffee Time, U.S. spending priorities, education versus incarceration. In examining government spending patterns across the United States, a complex picture emerges about national priorities. When comparing investments in education versus incarceration, the numbers reveal not only how funds are distributed, but also how those distributions have shifted over time. Let's start with the broad national landscape. In 2021, state and local governments allocated approximately 21% of their direct general expenditures to elementary and secondary education, K-12. Higher education received about 8% of these expenditures. This suggests that education, particularly at the K-12 level, has consistently remained a major focus for state and local budgets. Meanwhile, spending on corrections tells a different story. Corrections accounted for about 3% of state expenditures and 2% of local expenditures in 2021. While the percentage may seem small compared to education, it is important to note that corrections spending is concentrated. State governments are responsible for 64% of direct corrections expenditures, primarily funding large, state-operated prisons, while local governments handle spending on county jails. The historical trends in these categories provide even more perspective. From 1977 to 2021, inflation-adjusted state and local government spending on corrections increased by an astounding 346%, rising from $19 billion to $87 billion. By comparison, spending on higher education grew during the same period, but at a slower rate. These figures point to an unsettling reality. While education funding has expanded, the resources directed toward incarceration have grown even faster, both in absolute terms and proportionally to overall government expenditures. California's 2023 to 24 fiscal budget offers a closer look at how these priorities play out on a state level. The state allocated an impressive $108.8 billion from the general fund to support K-12 education. This investment underscores California's public commitment to education, at least on the surface. However, corrections spending tells another story. California's 2023 to 24 budget dedicated $18.1 billion to the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Even more striking is the cost per inmate, over $132,000 annually. This figure reflects not just the expenses of housing and securing inmates, but also medical costs, rehabilitation programs, and facility maintenance. The contrast between these two categories is thought-provoking. Although education receives a larger share of total expenditures, the faster growth rate of corrections spending over several decades suggests a systemic prioritization of incarceration infrastructure and policies. There is an important insight to be drawn from these trends. Studies have shown that investments in prison education programs can reduce recidivism rates by up to 43%. Reducing the likelihood that formerly incarcerated individuals return to prison offers not just humanitarian benefits, but also potential long-term cost savings. In other words, redirecting more funding toward education, both inside and outside prison walls, may not only serve justice, but also fiscal prudence. As we reflect on these spending patterns, it becomes clear that government budgets are not just financial documents. They are reflections of societal values and long-term strategies. Whether prioritizing education or incarceration, the impacts of these decisions ripple far into the future. What do you think about the way funds are allocated between education and incarceration? Should more be done to invest in preventive and educational programs? Let us know your thoughts. Now back to the Coffee Time crew for their discussion.
Wow. Wow. That's all I can say right now is wow. Well, one thing I want to make note of, a lot of people might have missed that in there, but coming out of the educational fund is money going to the prisons for education. Okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be, doing educational stuff within the system, prison system, because again, it does help lower that rate. But it also, gives these folks, another direction. Give them, a lot of folks been in prison. I hate to say it, but there's a lot of smart people in there, but there's also a lot of folks that are uneducated, so this does help out, So, I mean, again, whether it's, getting a GED, a high school equivalency, or, possibly doing online courses where they can actually obtain a degree while they're locked up, and then that puts them in a bit better position when they come home. I mean, they're still considered to be, an convicted felon, right? Which is a big deterrent for a lot of employers. Uh, I mean, I think they should look into that a little bit more as far as, well, what was he locked up for, right? Did he steal a stick of gum or did he rob a bank? Well, I mean, there's a big gap in there. You don't know when you don't know what they were convicted of. But, I mean, it does help. But again, it's just at the rate they're going, as they say, the trend is showing that they are prioritizing incarceration over education. So, I mean, again, they're dumping more and more money into incarceration while they're strangling, holding the purse strings tight on education, and that's wrong. I mean, because part of the reason that we got so many people in prison is because of the disparity in the schools. I mean, the education, schools not getting the proper funding and stuff. So, I mean, I know when I was growing up, again, folks that within the LA Unified School District system, right? I mean, again, my high school wasn't, in the best area. I mean, it was average, middle class, whatever, right? So, like they said, it could normally this stuff goes. Well, in the next article they talk about it, but I would go and I had friends of mine that were going to different high schools that were in more affluent neighborhoods, and they got a lot better stuff than we did at our school. But then there was other schools, within the LA Unified School District. I mean, their books was falling apart. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's the stuff's got to be worked on. But anyway, incarceration over education doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you need to make sure that, our youth are getting a proper education to limit the possibility of them going into incarceration. So, anyway, that's what I got on it, Kara.
For me, I mean, Ed, the money is what stood out to me more than anything. I believe that everybody has a right to education, but to put the prison over what we have going on right here with people who are free, I mean, I look at my community right now. They're shutting down schools just because they just don't have money to keep these schools open. And now children, parents, they're having to scatter to try to figure out, okay, where can I send my kid for an education? And then you have individuals who just can't go to college because they can't afford to go to college. But it never did say in the article if these individuals who are incarcerated, once they get these degrees, if they have to pay back any of that. Where if you have a student loan and you're out here in the free world, you got to pay that back. So, it's like it's mixed all the way up. And again, I have nothing against anyone trying to get education, but it seems like people are going to be incarcerated to get an education free compared to someone who's out here in the free world that would have to pay for an education. And I don't think that's right. I really don't.
Well, I mean, and I think that's a misconception, Carol. I mean, number one, a public education is a free education.
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Now, when you are locked up and you are in a position where you can take these college courses,
Right.
it ain't free. So, how are they getting a free education?
Well, how is it not free if they don't have any income to pay for these courses? You're saying that the prisoners have to pay for this education?
Yes, they have to pay for it, just like if they were going to a junior college or a regular college, whatever.
Well, then I misunderstood that because I had no clue. How can you pay for something if you don't have money?
Your people.
Oh, I see.
Just like
So,
you get to go to the store every month, they put money on your book so you can go to the store. They put money on your book so you can get an education.
okay, I see. See, I did not know that.
Yeah,
So
no.
it's only selected ones that can go for that particular program if they have money on their books.
If they got money on their books,
Okay,
and then
gotcha.
I hate to go here, but even in California right now, if you go to the what they call the MTA, the medical tech,
Right.
because you woke up this morning and they ain't feeling right, whatever, you need to go see somebody, they charge you a copay up in there now. If you got money on the books, they charge you. And if
Wow.
you don't have any money on the books, then they put a little lien on your account to where the first money that somebody sends you, they're going to take their cut before you get the balance.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, no, they making money hands over fist. They just changed some of this stuff now where used to be when you would call from in there,
Mm-hmm.
the rates were so outrageous for someone making a call to the home, calling their wife, calling their mother, calling whatever the case may be. The rates, I mean, a 10-minute phone call could cost you $30-$40.
Ooh.
They just recently changed that. I mean, that
Wow.
was another little side thing that the institutions were working out with the phone companies. You know, it was crazy. It's really really crazy. So again, ain't nothing free in there. I mean, if nothing else, you paying with your time.
Gotcha. Well, educate me because I'm not familiar with the system, thank God,
No,
but
like I said, if nothing
but I
else,
had no clue. I
yeah.
mean, I got a few friends that are, they there. When they coming home, I don't know, but that's something that has never been discussed in a letter when I could read it and would write to them, or if I had a phone call, because I guess they just didn't have the funds to even think about that, you know.
No, I mean, bottom line in there, if you don't have no money, you're what they call an indigent inmate.
Like out here. Gotcha.
Okay, I mean, they're going to give you a bed because they're required to.
Right.
They're gonna feed you 3 times a day because they're required to.
Right.
Okay, now they got you know soap and stuff like that for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, I mean, oh Lord, you should see some of the stuff that they give you. I mean, powdered toothpaste,
Did you say powdered toothpaste?
powdered toothpaste.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that
Okay.
part.
Wow.
So I mean, you take the powder and rub it on your teeth. Then, if you're lucky enough to have a toothbrush, then you wet the toothbrush and start doing your thing after you've already put the powder on your teeth.
Mm.
I mean, it's crazy. It's just what they do in there. I mean, some of the soap is just so bad. Ooh, it's so bad. So
Right.
uh,
Right.
uh, here comes the late guy.
Oh wow. It's about time he decided to think about it.
Good
He's an
morning,
hour
George.
behind me now. If I can make it, surely he can.
Yeah. We talking crazy about you, dog. So anyway,
Us Mexicans were always late.
Well,
uh,
at least it's not me this time, right? That's what they say about us.
so anyway, I'm gonna jump into these promos, and then we're gonna move into the next article.
Okay.
If you'd like to know more about Blind United, you can visit our website at blindunited.org. You can email us at info@blindunited.org. You can call us at 909-846-8825. You can follow us on Instagram at Blind United Interest Groups. You can follow us on X at Blind United 22. You can watch our YouTube channel, Blind United. You could join our Facebook group, Blind United Interest Groups, or you can follow our Facebook page, Blind United. You can go to customcane.com. That's custom with a K, guys. And what Custom Cane does is they sell cane and cane accessories. It's like Burger King. You can have it your way. You can get a pink cane, a blue cane, a rainbow cane, a Broncos cane, a Chargers cane, a cane with the Braille alphabet, a cane with your name on it. Whatever you want, whatever type of handle you want, whatever type of tip you want. If you want an aircraft aluminum cane, if you want an all-terrain cane, telescoping cane, any type of cane, Custom Cane has it.
All right. Well, anyway, let me shout out.
Let me guess. The last commercial was about canes, wasn't it? It's like that guy from Forrest Gump, boiled shrimp, barbecue shrimp.
Okay, yeah, you have it your way.
Black pepper shrimp.
Whatever. You can have black pepper or shrimp on your custom cane if that's what you want. But anyway, God First says good morning. So good morning, God First. George, right quick. I know you wasn't here for the article. The first one was about, incarceration versus education. And most of us, we think that they actually do spend more money on incarceration than they do education. And on paper, they don't.
Oh, really?
But on paper, they don't. But when you dig into it, part of the money from education ends up in the incarceration column for education within the prison system. And when I say education within the prison system, Carol, because I know we just had this conversation, right?
Right.
We're talking about English as a second language. We're talking about GED programs, stuff like that. We're not talking about higher education stuff.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, how's it with that? Sometimes I see like who was it? Who was I listening to yesterday? Anyway, there was this inmate that he was incarcerated and he ended up getting his educating himself, and he took the bar exam. Now, when they do that in-house classes, is it by accredited individuals or just for the other inmates that do the
Well,
training?
I mean, again, depending on where you're at, number one, every prison has a law library.
Okay.
So they can go in there and study. Okay. They can, and 9 times out of 10, there are computers in the library. So therefore you can look up, okay, what is, on a bar exam. And then you can study the whatever you need to study to pass that bar exam. Now, like I was explaining to Carol, if you're going to get a higher education, like a BS or whatever the case may be, right? You can sign up for, these online schools.
Okay.
But you got to pay for those courses.
Really?
Just like you got to pay for them. It ain't free just because you locked up.
Well, I have a master's in BS, so does that count?
Well, we know that part. So, anyways, now we're gonna get into this next article, which is of how the actual budget for education is unequally distributed. So check this out, and we'll talk on the other side.
Today on Coffee Time, the unequal landscape of school funding in America. In the United States, education funding is intricately tied to local property taxes, a system that has long perpetuated disparities between affluent and impoverished school districts. This funding model inherently links a school's financial resources to the wealth of its surrounding community, resulting in wide gaps in educational opportunities and outcomes for students. Understanding the root causes of funding disparities. One of the primary drivers of unequal funding is the reliance on local property taxes, which account for approximately 45% of public school revenue. In wealthier communities, higher property values mean more tax revenue and, consequently, greater investment in schools. These districts often boast state-of-the-art facilities, cutting-edge technology, abundant extracurricular activities, and competitive salaries for teachers. In contrast, schools in low-income areas, where property values are much lower, struggle to raise adequate funds. These schools often lack basic supplies, have outdated technology, and face challenges in maintaining qualified teaching staff. Inequality in public school funding. American University. While state and federal contributions are designed to supplement local funding, they often fall short of truly equalizing resources. Some states have implemented progressive funding formulas, attempting to channel more money toward districts serving higher numbers of low-income, special needs, or English language learner students. However, the success of these formulas varies widely, and many still leave significant gaps unaddressed. How is K-12 education funded? Peterson Foundation. Adding another layer of complexity are within-district inequities. Even within a single district, certain schools may receive more resources due to targeted fundraising, donations, or local initiatives. Wealthier parents and communities are often able to raise significant amounts of money to support their neighborhood schools, further widening the divide between affluent and impoverished students. How disparities impact students? The consequences of underfunded schools are profound and far-reaching. Limited educational resources. Students in poorly funded schools often contend with outdated textbooks, limited access to technology, and a lack of enrichment programs like art, music, and sports. Teacher recruitment and retention. Underfunded schools struggle to attract and keep experienced teachers, leading to higher turnover rates and often less experienced staff. Academic achievement gaps. There is a stark difference in outcomes. For example, graduation rates for students in high-poverty schools are around 68%, compared to 91% in low-poverty schools. Public school funding in the United States. Efforts toward equity. Recognizing the urgent need for reform, many advocates and communities have taken action. Legal challenges. Lawsuits in several states, such as Kentucky, have pushed governments to fulfill constitutional obligations to provide equitable education. Kentucky students challenging whether the state is meeting its constitutional duty on education. Revised funding formulas. Some states have introduced models that allocate more funding to schools based on student need, although challenges in implementation persist. Editorial Roundup. Mississippi. Community initiatives. Parent-teacher associations and local nonprofits have stepped in to raise funds for under-resourced schools, although, ironically, these efforts sometimes reinforce inequities when wealthier communities can raise far more than poorer ones. Despite progress in some areas, achieving truly equitable funding remains an ongoing struggle. As we look to the future, ensuring that every child, regardless of zip code, receives a quality education must remain a national priority. What are your thoughts on how we can better ensure equitable education funding for all students? Share your ideas and experiences. We would love to hear from you. Now back to the Coffee Time crew for their thoughts.
Well, number one, it's not equitable. Anybody that, it really matters to, they already understand this.
Wasn't there a recent study, Mr. Davis? Sorry to interrupt you. Wasn't there a recent study that shows that American students, K through 12, that they lag behind other countries like Britain and so I think what was going on, what you're about to say, the inequity of the funding, whereas if you're in an affluent area, like for example, let's say here in El Paso, you're in the Upper Valley, the taxes go towards the schools, according to the article. But the problem is, what happens to the low income, like here in the segundo barrios, where the kids are low income. And just to let you know, folks, who are listening, El Paso has the second highest property taxes per capita. The only city that we're behind is Detroit, Michigan. But here in El Paso, we pay more taxes on our homes. Of course, now we have to understand, folks, property taxes, let's say you pay $1,000, just an example. Not all of that goes to the schools. I think it's what here in El Paso, I think 40% goes to the schools. Another portion goes to the county. Another portion goes to the city, and then the other part goes to what's called the health district. So not the whole property tax goes to schools, right? But at the same time, we have to understand that you're right, Mr. Davis, because the what's the word I'm looking for? The expectation that if you're low income, you're stupid, or you can't talk, or you can't learn, which is truly incorrect, right?
Right.
And the special needs component, I hate that word, by the way, just to let you know. Just my experience here in El Paso is lag behind even just general education, folks. I hate to say that, but if you're a kid in a special needs, quote unquote, category, ooh, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
They are in trouble.
But see, and here's the sad part, I mean, I'm now 68 years old. So, I mean, it's been 50 years since I got out of school. And the sad thing about that is, guess what? Ain't nothing changed. In 50 years, ain't nothing changed. The only thing that has actually changed is, on this level, I remember in elementary school, through the school, we were selling, candy with the world's finest, the original world's finest chocolate bar.
Right.
It was a great big chocolate bar, right? We used to sell, different, chippers, butter toffee peanuts, all of these things. The students are out here selling this stuff. Why? Because your school that's doing that fundraiser, they need more money because they didn't get enough money from the state. Why? Because they're in the wrong zip code.
Now, Mr. Davis, how does the current administration's attempt to close Department of Education, how did that
hold
impact?
on. Before we go, first Tisha says good morning.
Oh, good morning.
Then she also says she's never known a Mexican to be late. So, so okay, now carry on, George.
I have a comment for that, but I'll let it go. So how does that, the budgeting, because what I understand by the current administration wants to do away with the Department of Education, so it could take back, the states could take back that control, but did that equate to more funding or less power?
It equates to less funding because the main reason that the current administration wants to back out of the Department of Education is because they don't want to give any federal funding.
Well, I know, Ms. Carroll, I don't know if you heard this recently. I think it was in the past week. Our governor, or the legislation, they passed a bill, which is going to go to the governor for signature. It allows people to use public funding for private schools.
Yes.
So
they've been working
on
that one for a minute,
Yeah. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, right? Because, people assume that private education is better, right? Maybe because it's more one-on-one, whereas in public schools, you have, 40 kids in one class?
Right.
Or maybe that's what contributes to it, but I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, that's the same thing with, another element in this is, the more affluent neighborhoods get more funding, they can afford to hire more teachers, they can afford to have less students in the classroom.
True.
But in the lower impoverished areas, they don't get the funding, so they have less teachers, so now they got 30, 40 kids in a classroom.
And it's hard to learn in that kind of environment, right? Because all the kids moving around and
exactly.
And everybody doesn't learn the same. And the sad thing too is, you have these kids looking the part. You want them to wear these uniforms, these expensive Dickies shorts or pants, polo shirts, all in a certain color that most of the families can't afford. But you get in the school and you don't have the right books. that are up to date, or computers that are falling apart or don't have the right software. And you can't learn that way. You can't keep up. You're always behind.
Yep.
But they want them to look the part. And like, I don't know about you in El Paso, but here in Dallas, they're shutting down schools. They're more concerned about changing the name of the schools.
You know what's funny, Miss
instead
Carol?
of putting funding in the schools that can help these kids learn more.
But you know what's funny here in El Paso is just by coincidence, wink, wink, that most of the schools that they're closing are in the low income areas.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
same here. And the parents are scrambling, trying to figure out, okay, where can I take my kid? Where can I put my kid? They just don't have enough funding to keep the schools open, they say.
Well, another sad part of that is what? Parents in the affluent neighborhoods have the ability to transport their kids to a different neighborhood to go to school.
That is true.
Folks in the ghetto, I'm sorry, I'm just going to use it as a term.
Right.
They don't have the money. Oftentimes, they don't even have a car. So now, are you going to start providing buses to get these kids from where you shut down a school to where the next available school that has classrooms available?
Right.
I think some of the problem for funding, Mr. Davis, now here locally, I'm talking, it might be the same for you there in California, you, Mr. Carroll, is that, here in El Paso, we have 6 school districts, but each administrator or each, superintendent is earning well over 300,000, plus the admin. Some of those are making 100,000, close to 200,000. My thought would be, if there's a way to consolidate all those districts into one, where we don't have to pay 5 people over 300,000, which is $1.5 million right there.
Yeah.
And then the administrators, making $100,000 a year, I'm like, why can't we just reduce the staff and put that money back into the school districts?
Well, I mean, like you say, 100,000 and up, why can't you, have them, max out at a certain point?
At a certain point. Mm-hmm.
And then take the extra that you're now not giving them and start giving the teachers more money. How about you start buying your own supplies for the school rather than, where my daughter lives down in Florida, right? Every year when they go and register for classes, they get a printout of all the supplies that they are required to bring to school. My daughter literally has to go around and spend, X amount of dollars, $150, $200, whatever the case may be, on school supplies.
Right.
I wonder how the
hold on, George. Times however many children you have.
True. That's true.
And now you put that all in a bag, and then your student give it to your child, and they carry it to class, and they give it to their teacher. You're giving them Xerox paper. You're giving them this. You're giving them that. You're giving them markers. You're giving them pencils. You're giving them all kind of different stuff, right?
Right.
Again, when I went to school, they did that. The school provided all that. They had paper for us. They had, we was talking about that the other day. What do they call it? A ditto machine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, they just had this one type of paper that they could write out whatever they wanted, like if they want to do a handout on math problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could write out a whole page of math problems, take that special paper and put it in the ditto machine, and now they just print out however many
they need for
that class. You know what I'm saying?
And the thing about what you were saying earlier, Mr. Steve, is that people don't realize with the low income, you have other circumstances. For example, violence or not having enough food or not having enough money. How does that impact a child going to school, right? They have those other stresses. And to me, it's a vicious cycle when it comes, I'll say that, like I said the other day, we keep trying to put money into, or take away money, from the schools when the schools need it.
Yeah.
They really, the teachers really need to get paid. like my cousins. I have 5 cousins that are teachers. Every year they take the money out of their own pocket to buy the supplies because the students that can't afford it. Is that fair?
No,
Right?
it's
No, it's
not.
not.
And that's my point. Like I said, my daughter, $150, $200 a month times 2-3 kids. You know what I'm saying?
And that's a lot of money from her income.
Right. We talking about, $450 to $600. If you got 3 kids,
But see, Mr. Davis, you had an
you're
advantage.
dumping in supplies. But
you had an advantage, Mr. Davis.
What advantage?
Yeah, because when you were going to school, they use horses, not cars. So,
wow.
I'm not that old, George. Now I can tell
Wow.
you that not far from me, a lot of people don't know Apple Valley, where Roy Rogers used to do his thing at. That's where he lived at.
Okay.
The high desert. You hear us talk about the high desert.
Yeah, the high desert.
Okay. The kids used to travel by wagon to Antelope Valley, which was on the other side of the high desert, and they would travel there on Sunday night, get there Monday morning, go to school all week, leave Friday, get home Saturday, spend the night at home, and turn around and go back.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you something, guys. And I don't want to go controversial here. I just have a question. Right? It might be naive on my part. But do you think the influence or the influx, because even when I was young, I would see these big old trucks come with kids from the border, from Juarez, and they'll all come off and go to the school buses. And do you think that impacts or that takes away from our students when it comes to education or funding or like lunch or whatever? Because I've always been curious because...
well, in essence, it does, George. I'm being honest. I mean, if you have people coming into your school, especially we're talking about kids, right? So now their parents are not contributing to our economy, but yet their children are benefiting from our economy. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that's part 2. I'm going to jump into the next one, but I'm going to run these promos right quick, and then we'll get into the last article. Did you know Blind United offers free training in assistive technology? We call them interest groups. We offer training in JAWS, NVDA, iPhone, iPad, as well as Meta Ray-Bans. We also have groups like support group, cooking groups, and crafting groups. There are also groups for entertainment like movie night and RS game night. For more information about all the interest groups that we offer, just email us at info@blindunited.org or visit our Facebook group, Blind United Interest Group. We would love to have you be part of the Blind United crew.
June 21st, got a vibe so right. Come through the service and a day tonight. It's Blind United, yeah, we're bringing the flair. Crafts and colors floating in the air. Jewels that shine, lotion so smooth. Mosaics, baked goods, handmade grooves. You don't wanna miss this artful affair. Blind made magic, love everywhere. Jewel that shine, lotion so smooth. Mosaics, baked goods, handmade grooves. You don't wanna miss this artful affair. Blind made magic, love everywhere. You want a table, just $25. Bring your vision, your craft, your luck. Vendors welcome, come show your pride. Let your work shine, let your soul ride. It's more than a fair, it's a moment to share with a community that truly cares. So email us now, don't miss your spot. info@blindunited.org, we got a lot. Jewels that shine, lotion so smooth. Mosaics, baked goods, handmade grooves. You don't wanna miss this artful affair. Blind made magic, love everywhere. So come vibe with the crew, enjoy the day. Blind United has got it set our way. June 21st, bring your smile and light. Art and love, yeah, we'll shine so bright.
All right. Well, again, that's an event we got coming up in June on the 21st. If you live here in Southern California or willing to travel here anyway, we're doing a crafting fair for all the folks in the blind community to do, crafting or whatever the case may be. Got your own hot sauce recipe or barbecue sauce recipe or whatever, you putting it in a bottle and you trying to sell it. We got a place where you can come do that. So anyway, get at us, info@blindunited.org if you would like to get a table, and we'll plug you in, and hopefully you can come out and make $1 million and donate a little bit to Blind United. So
I'll keep
anyway,
track of the comments, Mr. Davis. Sorry about that. I forgot about that.
okay. So anyway, on this next article, again, we started off with what? The disparities between, incarceration and education. Then we broke into how that education money is broke down before it's sent to the schools, right? So now we're going to show you the differences between what happens later on in life if you come from an affluent school or an impoverished school. So check this out. Oops, wrong one.
You liked that song, didn't you?
I like that though. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds
Blind
pretty
made
good.
magic. Love in the air.
Here we go.
Today on Coffee Time, the education gap, graduation, college, and careers. When we talk about building a better future, few things are more important than education. Yet, in the United States, where a child grows up can heavily influence their opportunities to graduate, attend college, and earn a good living. Today on Coffee Time, we take a closer look at how outcomes differ between students from affluent and low-income schools, focusing on graduation rates, higher education pursuits, and future earning potential. Graduation rates, a clear divide. Students attending affluent schools experience significantly higher graduation rates compared to their peers in low-income districts. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, between 90% and 95% of students in high-income areas successfully earn their high school diplomas. In contrast, only 70% to 78% of students in low-income schools achieve the same milestone. In districts with extreme poverty, graduation rates can fall below 60%. Several factors contribute to this gap. Underfunded schools often have fewer teachers and larger class sizes. Access to extracurricular activities, tutoring, and enrichment programs is limited. Many students in low-income areas face challenges at home that can disrupt their education, such as food insecurity, unstable housing, or the need to work part-time jobs. These challenges build barriers that make completing high school far more difficult for low-income students than for their more affluent counterparts. College enrollment, the next hurdle. The divide continues after high school. Students from affluent schools enroll in college at a rate of 80% to 85%. Meanwhile, only about 50% to 60% of students from low-income schools pursue higher education immediately after graduation. Access to college counseling is a major factor. High-income schools often have one counselor for every 200 students, helping guide them through college applications, financial aid, and scholarship opportunities. Low-income schools, however, may have one counselor for 500 or more students, severely limiting personalized support. Affordability also remains a daunting hurdle. Even with financial aid programs, the perception and reality of high college costs deter many students from even applying. Academic preparation also plays a role. Students in affluent schools are more likely to have taken advanced placement, AP, courses, and received SAT prep, better positioning them for competitive admissions. Future earning potential, a long-term impact. The differences in education access and achievement translate directly into earning potential later in life. Graduates from affluent schools typically attend higher-ranked universities, leading to jobs with starting salaries exceeding $50,000 annually. For students from low-income schools who do complete college, often at less selective institutions, their degrees may not carry the same weight in the job market. Furthermore, many low-income students face obstacles that prevent them from completing college. Only about 14% of low-income, first-generation students earn a bachelor's degree within 6 years. The consequences are significant. Without a college degree, individuals typically earn a median salary of around $35,000. Those who earn a bachelor's degree can expect median earnings exceeding $65,000. This gap in educational attainment perpetuates cycles of poverty and limits upward economic mobility for many individuals from disadvantaged backgrounds. Quick comparison at a glance. Category: affluent schools, low-income schools. High school graduation rate: 90 to 95%, 70 to 78%. College enrollment rate: 80 to 85%. 50 to 60%. Bachelor's degree completion, low-income first-gen students. 14%. Starting salary, post-college, $50,000 plus. $35,000 to $45,000 if degree completed. Challenges: pressure to succeed. Affordability, access, preparation gaps. Closing thoughts. Educational success should not depend on the wealth of a student's zip code, but today's data makes it clear that it often does. Students from affluent schools enjoy higher graduation rates, stronger college access, and greater earning potential, while those from low-income schools face systemic barriers that impact them for a lifetime. What steps do you think could help close this gap? Should we rethink how schools are funded, or how we support students along the way? Now back to the Coffee Time crew for their thoughts.
Again, I mean, the facts are they're out there in front of you, right there. I mean, again, the fact that you're sending less money to one school versus another school impacts those students of that lesser valued school throughout the rest of their life. Yes, George.
I was just wondering my mic went out. Oh, do you hear me? Okay, I'm sorry. Tisha says she likes us to play that song again. Now, but you guys, at the end of the day, we have to recognize, the reality is money. I mean, if you're low income, you sometimes the kids have to go to work to help the parents, or it's just for me. At the end of the day, it comes to economics when it comes to the affluent kids, and they have money and they go to the better schools, and of course, having access to those funds, either be we call those from the government, I went blank, the general.
You're talking about
student loan,
like Pell Grants and stuff.
Yeah, the
like
Pell Grant, the Pell
Oh,
Grants.
Pell Grant.
And the thing
Okay.
is, when I don't know if I ever told you this, Mr. Davis and Miss Carol, when I graduated, I was top 10%. And when I tell people that, they're like, really? I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? But the point is, we have to understand and be realistic when it comes to when you're low income. You have a variety of factors, like I said earlier, right? You have the home environment. Are my parents working? Are my parents together? Do we have a home? Do we have food? Do we have transportation? We're an affluent family. There's no worries. For example, let's say my kid needs tutoring in math. Well, I have the money to pay for someone to get tutoring. Or on the flip side, if I have a kid and I don't have no money, I'm barely making minimum wage, my kid's going to fall behind. It's just reality. And the bad thing about it is there has to be a way. Well, Mr. David, let me ask you this. Wasn't the lottery set up for that at one point?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they still contribute a lot of money into the schools. But here's the problem with lottery, just like anything else like that, right? Even going all the way back to when I was talking about how we used to sell the little chippers, butter toffee nuts, right? A lot of that money gets tied up in administrative costs.
True.
Again, so now you got somebody, let's just go here. Let's say that the California lottery made, $100 billion, right? well, now you got the person that's administering that fund, right? You paying him $1 million a year.
Right. That's right.
That's true.
You know,
That's true.
now if he's
Mm-hmm.
making $1 million a year, guess what his staff makes, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, so by the time the check gets cut to whatever school, you know, now that $100 billion is down to maybe 10. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
It's a
maybe
lot
I'm being
less.
a little
Yeah,
bit
right.
extreme, but
Mhm.
you know, again, but that's where your money gets chewed up. You know, so I mean, yeah, you know, we want to
Hey,
help the
I'll
schools,
just
but
say
it's not
something.
really helping.
Let me ask you this, Mr. And you're the perfect person to answer this question. The belief was back in the day, well, I'll say back in like in my days, right? In the 70s, 80s, you had to go to college, even 90s. But now I see a different, there's a twist to that where people are sometimes, let's say, for example, I don't want to go to high school or college. I'm not a college person. I had many people back then. I talk about vocational training, be uh, plumber. They made really good money. Be an electrician, be a mechanic, right? Because I know some people are. I know one kid, Mr. Dave. Well, he's not a kid no more. He was a gangbanger. He had kids, and he's all tatted out and shaved head, and typical cholo and all that. And one day he was here. This one I could still see. She showed up to my cousin's house. I didn't recognize him. He walked up. He goes, "Hey, is Tommy here?" And I'm like, "Who are you?" He said his name. I'm not gonna say his name. And I'm like, "What happened, bro? You changed." He goes, "Yeah, I went to school. I'm a plumber now. I make real good money. I bought a house." So sometimes college may not be the right route, but hopefully they could tap into the vocational training.
Right.
Yeah,
And
trade
again,
schools are
yeah, I'm
important.
sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Carol. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. I'm just saying a lot. Like I know two young men that graduated last year. Both of them wanted to go to college, but of course they're from low income families. They just couldn't. They had to go to work, But
Mhm.
and their dreams are just crushed. They may be able to pay their way through, do some online courses or something of that sort, but their diploma is all that they have. And it's just sad that they want a higher education, but they're going to have to, it's just statistic kind of shows that if you don't go right after high school, generally you're not going to
Yeah,
have that
true.
motivation to want to go unless you try to do some type of courses. And it's about finding time to do that and still provide for yourself or your family. So a lot of times that dream is just crushed if it's not available initially, just based on where they're from.
Yeah.
And especially if they get that one good job, right? Let's say for a chance to get a job, and they're paying good, right? And they're like, you know what? I'm good. I don't need to go to school right now. But then what happens 5 years down the road, right? And they're like, oh, I'll
Right.
stay here. I'm here already 5 years. Oh, I'm here 10 years. I'm here. Then they go to school. You're right, Miss Carol. They
Well,
have
I mean,
more.
on that note, it depends on whether there's any advancement. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just
True.
like, let's go here. Let's say you decided, no, I don't want to go to school, so I'm gonna go do a trade center where I can, learn carpentry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you start off, you're basically, a trainee, an intern, whatever they want to call it, right? Your labor, in essence, and then then you become a journeyman. Now you're getting more money as you move on. Time goes on. Man, you can move up and become superintendent. So my point being that there's advancement there.
True.
If you go into welding, same thing. You start off as an apprentice, whatever. You know, there's advancement there. Any of those as well. Guess what? You can branch off and start your own business,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so now you study, one of these other. I mean, for me, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a need for it. I don't understand what it is, but when you're going to college, spending, getting a master's, for instance, in liberal arts, what does that mean? What
Hmm.
can you do with that degree? You just spent 150, $200,000 in education. How can you use that degree? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where if I go over here and I go to carpentry school, they're gonna teach me how to hammer a nail. I know how I can use that. I can build stuff. I can,
Can I mention
so
this, Mr. Davis?
go ahead.
And I know we're going to go off, we're past the hour, but I just want to mention this. The one of the things that we have to look at is the sad part about it. Going to school, college. I know 3 people right now, Mr. Davis, that have master's degrees, and they're unemployed because they have a disability. And it's sad because they went to school all that all that time, spent all that money, and now when they walk into a place to get employment, they're discriminated because of their disability. And I just want to throw that in because
Right,
I'm
because
one of them too. I mean, I
these,
have a master's in chemistry, but I'm blind. I can't do it.
well, actually, you can. There's just
Well,
ways to do
yes,
it.
it's ways that I would have to go about doing it.
But
It would be
again,
difficult.
when you walk in there, they don't see your degree. They don't see the determination, endurance it took for you to get that degree. All they see is your disability,
Yep.
Right.
and
That's
that's
true.
what's wrong. That
I
part
agree.
right there.
And
I
it's
You
sad
agree.
know,
because
so,
there's one person I know. She's very smart, and she has her master's, but she's in a wheelchair. And I say, but because that's the factor. That I think that's why she's not employed right now, right? Even as a school teacher or a school counselor, she wanted to do that. And it's just there's so many factors when it comes to education. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to what you said, Mr. Davis, funding. No matter what it is this funding to the home environment or funding to the state environment? What I mean by our state institution or even the school districts. At the end of the day, funding. If you're in an influential part of the city, you have a more chance of being successful. Unfortunately, because you have the resources. When you're low income, you don't have those resources. Because there's many bright people that are low income, but again, you live in a certain zip code. Oh, okay, you know what? You're a gangbanger, or you're this, or you're that, right? Or
what?
like in our culture, if you're from a certain zip code, oh, you don't know Spanish, or you don't know English, then really?
Right. You get profiled just because of where you live.
Just
You
for
Mhm.
where
know.
you live, and it's a lot of smart, brilliant individuals from
Absolutely.
low income
So
areas.
anyway, George, run down there and check and see if we got any final comments before we get out of here, my brother. So I mean, again, there's several ways that this stuff could be, looked at. Number one, let's
No comment.
prioritize education over incarceration. That's going to give us more money in our school.
True.
Number two, let's take and focus more on making sure that everybody earns at the minimum a living wage, because what now that's going to increase the value within the impoverished neighborhoods where now they're making more money, so therefore that their zip code gets bumped up to where now they're going to become more equal to some of the other neighborhoods when it comes to funding,
Yes,
right?
sir. Hmm.
But bottom line, the more you fund our schools, especially K through 12, the better you educate our children, K through 12, the better chance they have at life, period. Quit looking at what neighborhood I live in. Look at me. Look at who I am. Look at how I progressed coming through school. Look at my grades as I was coming through school. Look at all the extracurricular activities I did as I was coming through school. Don't look at all the people on my block. Look at me. And that's what needs to be done. You need to give these kids, regardless of where they live, every opportunity they can get. Okay. When you live in money, opportunity is just something that's right there on the shelf. You just reach up and grab whatever opportunity you want to take. When you come from an impoverished neighborhood, I mean, I hate to say this because, a lot of people don't believe. A lot of kids, this is where they go when they get out of school. They goes to the streets because that's the only opportunity they got to make enough money to actually take care of their family.
Yep.
They go get
True.
a job, I mean, up until this last year or whatever, when they changed the laws for minimum wage on, fast food workers. But before then, everything was minimum wage. How am I going to support my family on $7.50 an hour?
Mm-hmm.
It
Now,
ain't going to.
just a side note, Mr. Davis, for those who may be interested, if you have a workforce near you, this is in every state. if you have a workforce near you, you want to go into some type of vocational training, reach out to that office because sometimes they have funding. I know when I was at the Borderplex, we had funding like for plumbers, electrician, truck drivers. They'll pay you, help you pay for that tuition for whatever the school is. And sometimes they have enough funding. They'll even help you purchase. Let's say you need steel toe shoes, or you need Dickies or whatever. So, I mean, yeah, I know school or college might be the route to go, but some people that's not the I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to
School's
college.
not for everybody. So
Yeah.
Right.
anyway, on that note, we well over our time. So I know it don't feel like it to George because he was 20 minutes late. So, but anyway, again, we got the two interest groups tonight. George is not going to make the first one, so I'm going to cover with him on the advocacy one, but he'll be back with you.
I have it today. Oh, crap. Okay, thank you that's right. Today. Thank you.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Hello.
But he'll be there for his Jaws tips and tricks. So anyway, come in at 6:00 and I'll be there. Hang out with me, learn some advocacy tips, and then you can fade right on to what George is doing with his Jaws stuff. So on that note, this is also the last set of interest groups for this month. The new schedule will be coming out, so I'll get that out as soon as it's ready to be published. And then we'll start with a new set of interest groups for May on Thursday. So anyway, all the other stuff I always say, you already know what it is. Like, subscribe, share, follow, all that good stuff. Everybody enjoy the rest of your magnificent Monday, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great day.